Guramagat Lasker here, and indeed welcome, Minister. Good to have you here again. Make sure the phone's off for a second. I, at the outset, welcome this conversation, and indeed congratulate Sinn Féin on initiating the conversation this evening. It's important that we do have a discussion on housing on a regular basis, that we look at where we're at. And I think as a government, and I'll start with this, I think as a government we can be particularly proud of where we've got to now. I'll give you some headline figures as quickly as I can. There have been 166,000 new homes built since 2016. There were almost 33,000 in 2023, the highest in 15 years. 30,000 commencements since the start of this year, 18,000 in April. They're very impressive figures. I think another very important figure is that since 2020, 10,820 vacant homes brought back into use. And a very important facet, and I'll be done with the figures after this, is that 12,000 social homes were provided in 2023 with 8,100 new build social houses, and that's a critical thing. The plan is to reach 22,500 new social housing units. Now, just to take a few things, I think one of our greatest initiatives and achievements in government has been the Croí scheme. I think it's transformative for rural Ireland, for urban Ireland, up to 70,000 rather, for a particularly derelict house, 50 or less so, but that's a significant grant, and it is causing, I know anecdotally, I know visually, just driving around the country, there's a lot of activity going on here. And I know, Minister, where you come from and where I come from, we appreciate the importance of that, of getting rid of derelict building, changing them and making them homes, and a lot of interesting, exciting things happening in that regard. And I think that's a particularly good initiative, and it should remain. If I understood my distinguished and very capable colleague, Senator Dolan, correctly, I think she was suggesting stage payments in that area, and I would agree with that. I mean, I think anything that enhances the scheme, and I don't see that there should be an issue with that, but I would commend it to you also, Minister. So I think that's a significant achievement of government. I think the Help to Buy scheme, there's a popular suggestion and that it can be inflationary, but it's a very significant intervention for people. I had a young couple with me last week through my clinic work, a lovely young couple, and they had an issue because when you're paying the rent on a place, it's impossible to save adequately. And I was able to direct them to this scheme, and they're able effectively, through tax relief, to get their deposit. So it's a very significant Help to Buy scheme, is very significant. And it was a particularly good initiative of government, and in my view should be maintained. To turn to social housing, as I said, we have significant gains in social housing. I personally think, Minister, that the building of social housing should be an enormous priority, because I think it's efficacious for society on so many levels that we have a good social housing scheme. And it bubbles up, it takes people, it soaks people out of the housing demand, and it creates a situation where we're getting a lot more people housed. And I think some of the historical heritage things in relation to that in our culture, going back to the famine and whatever, some of that is diminishing. And I think an increasing number of people will proudly enter the very beautiful social houses that we're building and will happily live in them. And I think that's important, and it takes the pressure off the other markets as well. So I'd commend to you, Minister, a very continued big focus on social. And as Senator Dolan said, affordable housing, which is a very, very important concept, that people can access affordable housing. I think when you think of the landscape, and I think when Sinn Féin reflect on this, they'll have to say in their summation that when you look at the landscape that we inherited, where we came from, and the fact that the entire building, when we came into government, that the entire building industry was at effective standstill, and you think of that where we have come now in terms of new builds, the exciting number of starts, the exciting number of new builds that I cited at the outset, the exciting Creeconia scheme, the exciting work on social housing, and that needs further initiative. So I think a reasonable objective analysis would say, if I could borrow a slogan from that Senator Mary Fitzpatrick will be very conversant with, there certainly is a lot done. We would be the first to accept that there's more to do, but there is a lot done. And the fact that there's a lot done should give people confidence now to say to themselves when they're voting in the local elections and the European elections that a government that has achieved so much from, you could say, a greenfield site in the literal sense, is worthy of endorsement and is worthy of support to go on building on this. So I think we're in an exciting place, we're going places, but we need to go places because it is a horror, and I want to end on this, it is a horror that it troubles everybody in politics, of all hues, shapes and sizes, and of all parties and none. It troubles everyone to see young people living in the family home beyond the natural age for that, and we want that to change, and we want the exorbitant rents to go, and they will go if we increase supply. So, Minister, we're achieving hugely. I'm very proud of that achievement, but I look forward to your response on the Creeconia and on Senator Dolan's proposition there. I look forward to your response on the social housing and the affordable housing, and I look forward to your response on the new bills and your particular view, Minister, of the Help to Buy scheme, which my clinic work would suggest is a real positive intervention. Thank you.
I did